What's going on, everybody? What's going on out there? Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for tuning in. I know been anywhere else, but you here with me today, this afternoon. We definitely gonna be talking about some good things. Man, we gonna wait for some people tune in. But first, I want to say thank you for tuning in to the Legal Truth, where the truth shall set you free. And I'm talking mentally, not physically, or it could be physically if you're in a penitentiary. I can help you get home in the law library. So, you know what I'm saying? This is very important. I mean, so we're going to just wait for a few minutes, wait for some people to tune in, wait for some people to tune in. I see my other things freezing up here. Like I said, we're going to wait for a few minutes, wait for some people to tune in. I know y'all thought I was going to be going for a minute, but nah, I'm back. I'm back. I'm back. I ain't going nowhere. We definitely got a good show today. We definitely got a good show today. Um, here. Please hit that subscribe button, hit that like button as soon as you tune in, please. So we about to get into it. We're gonna give it like 2 minutes, 2 more minutes for some people to tune in. Um, man, I had a lot of things going on. Had a lot of things going on this week, man. I was busy. I everywhere, riding everywhere. It was hot. Didn't y'all enjoy this weather? Yo, the weather, Saturday was like, I came out with a jacket. Why did I do that? Oh my God. That thing, it was too hot. I was like, let me get up out of this thing here. It was burning up. I said, no. But I enjoyed the ride. I had a nice good ride. I had a nice good day. I was drinking a lot of water, which is surprising because I don't drink too much water like that when it's cold. Gallon a day, but I drank like a half a gallon. Boy, yep, that day, Saturday, I was drinking water bottles back to back, back to back, like I was at a party drinking Henny. So, like I said, I get right into it. Lethal Seduction. Thank you. Hit that like button when y'all come. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button, please. So let's get right into it. Let's just line this whole show up. Yeah, we got to line this show up because it's a lot going on with Black people right now in society and across the country. This is about South Africans, right? You got the South Africans right now. They're upset. They're upset at Black people in America. Specifically, if you want to call them the FBAs, Black Americans, South Africans are pissed off behind the parade that so-called African Americans started or participated in New Orleans, and they feel some type of way. So it kind of boiled down to that, you know, New Orleans, they had the parade. I believe it was Mardi Gras, I believe. And one of the shows or one of the parades, actually, well, no, excuse me, not Mardi Gras parade, excuse me. Actually, in one of the parades, because it's called the Zulu parade. In the parade, the brothers and sisters, they painted their face up as, blackface, or some may take it as blackface, because they had their face painted black and white, you know what I'm saying? And they took to the streets and they emulated the Zulu nation, they emulated the Zulu people in the parade. And South Africa saw this, I guess, online I'm pretty sure online, not the news, but online, and they took offensive to it. And they went to social media and they voiced their displeasure, and Black Americans felt the way because some South Africans had voiced their displeasure. They did it in a disrespectful way. They started talking about Black Americans' culture and how it's backwards and how we disrespected them and we emulated them and we trying to be something we not and all of this stuff, right? And I understood where they was coming from. I understood the disrespect that South Africa felt about the Zulu parade. And to be honest, they have a right to feel that way. They have a right to feel that way because we over here never took the time out to study their culture. Just like they didn't take the time out to study our culture. See, we both got the same enemies, Africans and South Africans, but I want to pump your brakes. I'm going to get to you, South Africa, because you are the pot calling the kettle black. Okay, we're going to get right into it. Hit that like button, please. Hit that like button. Thank you for welcome. Thank you. Tuning in for the truth. So we definitely about to talk about some truth here, right? Okay, so let's backtrack a bit, right? Do anybody know anything about the Zulu parade? Because actually, I never heard of the Zulu parade until all this controversy hit social media. I was like, what? Zulu parade? What was going on? And then when I saw the blackface, I was like, ooh, like, why? Why would you do that? You know what I'm saying? Because we at one point in time in this country, Black people couldn't become actors. They couldn't be in the movies. So when white people wanted to emulate Black people in the movies, they painted their face black. This is where blackface came from, and it mocked them. It mocked us, and it gave it fulfilled the space where Black people wasn't actors. So white people emulated us and mocked us and portrayed us with this blackface, and they acted as buffooneries and coons on TV and in the movies while they emulated us. They always played a comedy or some sort of clown. You know what I mean? It was never serious when it came to the blackface. It was always a joke. So we always took it as a disrespect in this country if a white person got on screen in this day and time and painted their face black and white and started dancing and acting like a fool. We already know what kind of disrespect that is. Am I right? All right. So we can agree that that point, that picture, that vision is a disrespect to our culture and our lifestyle. And our lifestyle is our culture. Our culture, our new culture that we created in this country, because once we left Africa, they stripped us of our culture. We didn't know nothing about no Africa. We didn't even know how to get to Africa. So we had to create our own culture, just like we had to create our own language. I was going back and forth with a South African, and they said, "Oh, you can't even speak straight English." Why should I? I'm not an Englishman. Do people leave their country like Africa or Dominica and Puerto Rico that doesn't speak fluent English come over here and speak proper English? No. You know why? Because it's not their language. This is not Black people language. We was brought here and forced here to speak English that derived from England. That has a root vocabulary of Greek, which is Latin, which is Spanish. When you say, "Si, vente conmigo," that ain't your language. That's a European language. You see how we all in the same box and the crabs is pulling each other down with this bullshit that we hearing on TV? Hit that subscribe button. Hit that subscribe button. So I'm not an Englishman, but I speak English. So Black people in this country had a sense that where we had to find ourselves in our own culture because we don't speak like Mr. Baithwaite. That's not our culture. Our culture comes from our soul. So whatever comes from out of us, we create it for something we can relate to one another with. Just like if I go into a room where all white people, business people, I know how to speak. But when I go around my crew or my team around my way or other friends, I'm like, yo, what's poppin'? What's going on? I know how to speak. I'm not going to speak like Mr. Braithwaite. That's not the language. You will call it Ebonics. We just call it black people talk. That's all it is. White folks took it and put it in a dictionary. That just like bling bling, Lil Wayne and them, they made it famous. They took a language and they created it and gave it a definition. Here go white folks. They steal a damn word and they put it in the dictionary like they made it up. That's our language. So South Africa, I want you to understand why we don't speak proper English, because we're not supposed to speak proper English. That's not our language. Hell, that's not even American language. America don't even have a language. What's the American language? I rest my case. We know what English language is, but we don't know what American language is because America don't have a language. What's American culture? America don't have a culture because America has a culture that comes from different parts of the earth of people that derive in America. It doesn't have a culture. So I'm breaking this down to you because Africans, specifically South Africans, I have to break this down to you because you don't know our history. So to mock us and say why we didn't do this and why we didn't do that, we made it so comfortable for you that we died so you could go drink water peacefully out of a fountain. Water. We died for that. Did you? See, you don't know our culture. You don't know our history. You said white man over here doing this to us and doing that. Do you know how many revolutions that we took place in? Do you know how many uprisings that happened? It didn't just start with Harriet Tubman. Do you know how many slave masters got killed? Do you know how many police officers, federal agents got killed so we could liberate our people? People that died then for me to be up here to talk to you, to say whatever I want without being lynched. That's where we came from. Where were you? Let me tell you where you was at. Hit that like button. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. We're here talking about South Africa versus Black Americans. And I'm not saying both is wrong and both is right. I just want you to understand, because they don't understand our culture and our history. They've been given a narrative about us in this country, just like we was given a narrative about them in their country. How many of you grew up saying you were African booty scratcher? When you speak that, when you talk about Africa, you got a plate in your lip. Because they already put the image of Tarzan on TV and got us thinking that that's how they look over there. And we saying, yo, we look better than them. Yo, we ain't African, we over here. And we mock them. They got a whole country to themselves. You can't talk. They got natural resources. We don't have that. But the slave masters is controlling their natural resources. See, Africa, you really can't talk about us. You have a country. We don't. But yet the enemy is in your country reaping the benefits. Diamonds come from South Africa. Y'all talking, why is they still over there in Europe is still oppressing your people, our people, cleaning and digging for diamonds in the mud. And they ain't getting nothing but 2 cents for it. They slave night and day for little rocks that's worth nothing in Africa, but as soon as it get to Europe, it's made into millions, what is called diamonds. You remember the movie Blood Diamond? This is what they do. So before you talk about our oppressors, you got the same one, and it's called America. They're over there reaping the benefits of Africa. The chips for the cell phone comes out of the Congo. You don't import it. They do. What's wrong? What's going on? But you point at us saying, we mock your culture. No, we just don't understand it, and we don't know it because we never took the time out to learn it, because when we was over here and we got stripped of everything, we were just more study into focusing on our culture. Besides, we was too busy trying to survive to know your culture. We was busy trying to implement and cement our future for our children to come along. So we ain't had no time to think about no Africa. When we went to school, we was busy trying to read and write. We didn't know because our family and families after before that and before that and before that is deaf, dumb, and blind. This is where all the Willie Lynch law come from. They stripped us of everything. By the time we really got our freedom or thought we had our freedom, we ain't even think about going back to Africa. Because every time we saw the news, the narrative says, go to Paris. It's the country of love. Ain't they say French is the language of love? Who, according to who? Who says so? But that's the narrative they paint. So here for the lot of peace, here I see you on early. I'm listening while driving to work. Yeah, I'm early. I figured that I get on early. I might get on later on too. I want to talk about this Big U thing, but I really wanted to touch upon it. Actually, I was going to talk about Big U today, but this South Africa thing or Africa thing and versus Black American thing, it has me bothered because we have the same oppressor, and yet we on social media fighting each other. They're raping your country for all your natural resources. How is it that you have natural resources out of 52 or 53 countries in Africa, and majority of Africa is broke? Africa is the #1 resources to the whole entire planet. How is it that you still in the woods? Not all of you, not all the countries. You got some countries that look better than New York City. But what I'm saying is, how is it that some of the countries that's over there is broke? You say we just kill each other. We call each other niggas. So do you. So do you. I got it on my phone. You want me to play it? You in battle rap say nigga. What's up, nigga? I see you with the chair, nigga. You sound like you in America. You even got one that's rapping. Oh, hold on. Let me pull this up. You think I'm playing? You even got one that's rapping. He's in Africa with an ATL accent. Come on, talk to me. And you all saying that we want to be like you so bad. No, we don't want to be like you. We are you. See, that's how deaf, dumb, and blind you are. See, the #1 slave dungeon, I'm getting to it. I ain't finished. The #1 slave dungeon is in Ghana, where the European Jews took control of it, and they manipulated us in our country for gold and guns because we was rivals against other tribes and other nations. So we were set tripping, killing one another, and then the enemy came in with their candy and their magic, and we fell for it. And we started taking our own people. You listen in South Africa and all the Africans, you started taking your own people and some of the people from prisoners of war that you had war with, and you sold them into slavery. Yeah, they mad, Monica. Because I say this, they sold it because I was on YouTube and the dude had the nerve to tell me, why are you arguing with people that left over here with a price tag? You put us on a damn chain and the boats on a price tag. You sold us to the enemy. And then when you woke up later on, you started to fight them like the Zulus and the Ashantis. Y'all started in the Igbos. Y'all got together and y'all fought them out of Africa after you realized what was going on. And that's why the Europeans over here said, you know what? We already got enough niggas. We don't need to go back to Africa because we're not winning. And bad enough, we're going through hell over here in America with them. So let's leave them alone. You put us on the boat. You helped make the slave dungeons. You brought us to the slave dungeons. And now we over there and we doing something you don't like. You mad? Check the pot calling the kettle black. You still have the slave dungeons. And you still advertise it for funds. This is where we sold our people. Check you out. And you proud of that. And you proud of that. You mock our language, you mock our culture, right? Let me get to this thing here. Yeah, my brother told me, he said, don't argue with nobody that has a price tag on them. Well, let me ask you something. Since you all are unified as you claim to be in Africa, right? That's what you say, right? Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question. Zulus, this is particularly for you. When the enemy that's been oppressing your country, the same enemy that put Nelson Mandela in prison, the same people who watch Mandela go to prison in peace, the same people that when Mandela went to jail, apartheid was still there, the same people that when Mandela came home as president, apartheid was still there. I want to ask you something. When the Europeans in America made the disrespectful movie called Zulu, why didn't you say nothing? They made Shaka into an animal and a beast. As a matter of fact, when the movie came on, it was century years later, and they was in a room with the queen, and they was talking, and the Africans, the Zulus, they sat there quietly, and they stared forward, and they paid attention. And where the Europeans was talking in English, they didn't know that the Zulu king that was standing there knew English. And they said, my queen, they said, this the energy of Shaka alone. Yup, that movie. Yep. Thank you, Monica. And they said, my queen, this by the energy they give off alone, they still carry the energy and the spirit of Shaka, the man that then they conquered entire Africa and ran the Europeans out. They say their military skill is still superior. They said, my queen, we can't let these people have any equality with us, and they must remain in their savage land, and we must control the land. The queen said, I feel you're quite right. The African stood up and said, my queen, I see that we cannot come to it. They were shocked. They said, oh shit, he knows English. Why you ain't say nothing? Then they painted Shaka as a beast, where he was killing all his babies. Shaka has over 50 children. He was married over 100 times. He has so many children. He had more children than Solomon. He never died in the movie. He died of old age. They made him into an animal because they didn't want us to follow him. Because this was a time going into the black power era was starting to end a little bit, and the 80s was coming in with a new black power, which was called hip hop, and we was talking righteous stuff. So you had the Zulu nation that was coming out of hip hop, and they was introducing themselves to society. So when people was like, hold up, Zulu, what's that? And we start doing research, they said, hold on, we got to paint the nigga evil. And that's what they do. Every time we cheer for one of our heroes, after they kill him, they dig him up, they dress him up, and they clean his image, or they make him look bad on front of the TV screen. And we go, look at Shaka, he's foul. How he killing all his sons and his babies? How he killing all his people like that? They made Shaka into Rufus. Then they showed them selling his people, his own Zulu people for gold. Why? After Africa with Zulus, why you ain't say nothing? Why you ain't say nothing? Is it possible because you know your place? I mean, we over here, we'll march. We'll say something. I mean, you may say marching is harmless, but damn, at least we said something. You ain't said shit. But as soon as your own people decide that they want to pay homage to the Zulus by implementing the Zulu in a Zulu parade, and they painted their face black and white, and I'm sure they didn't really take it to the point where they looked at it where it's blackface, because every black person in this country knows the history about blackface. Well, you want to know why they put blackface on? South Africa? Hold on. Let me put you on. You ever heard this thing called Chat GPT? Yeah, it's more better than Google. Monica, everybody, download this. It's on your Play Store. It's called Chat GPT. You could text whatever you want on it, or you can voice on. You can ask whatever question. It'll give you the answer, and it'll give you input, and it'll give you a strategy on how to move. Look, check. So I asked about this because like I said, I never knew about this. This is the first time I ever heard about this. You see how white people like to keep history away from us? So I asked GPT, Chat GPT. I heard it on the news, but I wanted to make sure. So look what it says. Interesting. The Zulu parade in New Orleans